Hey there, my name is Marley and welcome to my new reading vlog. So in this video, I'm going to be vlogging as I read 3 new thriller releases that have come out within the last couple weeks or the last month. As you may know, thriller is my favorite genre and there are so many new thrillers coming out this summer. So I just thought I'd do a whole themed reading vlog for at least 3 of them. There's even more coming out that I'm excited about, but these are just kind of the 3 I chose that are all already out. So I'll quickly tell you what those 3 are. I won't get into too many details because we'll do that later in the vlog, but first up we do have The Whispers by Audrain. I read her book The Push, I guess last year or the year before. I absolutely loved it and gave it 5 stars. I have been hearing some conversations about how this isn't technically a thriller, it's more of a drama, literary fiction, but too late, I already have it from the library for this video. Next up, we have 0 Days by Ruth Ware. I have read all of this author's backlists and I normally always really enjoy her books. They're never perfect reads, so I'm not necessarily anticipating this to be a 5-star by any means, but still looking forward to see what she brings in this story. And I haven't heard too many people's reviews of this yet, if any. And for the last one, we're actually mixing it up with a YA thriller, and that is One of Us is Back by Karen M. Mcmanus. This is the 3rd book, and I believe the final one in the One of Us is Lying series. It's been a while since I read the first 2 books, but I did really like them, and they kind of are the books that got me into thrillers and YA thrillers. So I am excited to see what she does with this last one here. So yeah, let's get into the vlog. I will just say that the first book, I will be reading part of it on a trip to the UK, which I'm really excited about. So I think I should still be able to do some reading there. I'm not going to include too much vlog footage of the trip in this vlog, but I will be posting a complete vlog of my trip in the UK. So I will link that down below because I'm gonna just keep it private or unlisted, I think. But if you do care to see my whole UK trip, I'll leave a link to it in the description. All right. Hey vlog, it's me here to check in. The night before I leave for the UK, I have been cleaning the house, trying to be productive, but I have also been reading in between, and I've reached about the halfway point of The Whispers by Audrain. You know, it's going pretty well so far, but let me tell you more about it. So in case you haven't heard about this book, basically it's really focused on motherhood, and in particular we're following these 4 different mothers who all live in this neighborhood and who are all neighbors. So we are starting out, kind of all these characters are at this backyard summer barbecue party, and the lady who's hosting it, and as one of the mothers we're following, ends up yelling at her son in a really aggressive, embarrassing way, and everyone hears. And that is sort of like, I guess, the catalyst in a way. And then eventually it leads to 6 months later, or a certain amount of time later, this boy, her son, actually ends up hurt and in a coma because he fell out of the window. So it's a little bit suspicious there. And the story is just kind of surrounding this incident, and leading up to it, we're just sort of unpacking what's going on with this woman and her experience with motherhood. And this mother, as you can imagine, is kind of the type of woman that it doesn't exactly come naturally to her being a mother, and she doesn't exactly enjoy it a lot. We're also seeing, one of the other mothers who has the opposite. She really loves being a mother. She has really embraced it. She's a stay-at-home mom, all that. One of the other ladies we're following is an older woman who's sort of past her time of mothering. And then we're following this other woman, a younger one, with her husband, and they actually don't have any kids yet, but she is trying to be a mother. So we have all these different perspectives. So as you can tell, it really is for people who want to read about motherhood. If you don't want to read about that topic, you will not like this. So that's very similar to Audrain's first book, The Push, which also deals with motherhood and sort of the darker side of it and the struggles and hardships of it. So if you like that topic, you'll like this. And I think I do like that topic, honestly. I'm obviously not a mother myself, but I do find it interesting to read about that stuff. It makes me feel like, wow, like women are so strong. Like, I don't know. I've just always felt like the idea of giving birth and then, you know, breastfeeding and all that stuff is like so crazy. And then just raising the kids, like it's so intense. I don't know. I'm just interested to hear about, you know, what mothers go through, I guess. As for the critique about it not really being a thriller, I'm definitely feeling that. It's not your typical thriller, but I'm also feeling like Ashley might be a similar author for me as like Lisa Jewell and Sherry Lapina, who, if you didn't watch my recent wrap up, I talked about reading some of their recent books and how like I just love their writing. It's so easy to read and enjoyable, but how in the 2 books I read last month, like the plot didn't really deliver. I could kind of see Ashley fitting in with that because I'm really enjoying this book. Like, it's easy to read. I don't mind picking it up. I'm liking it, but I'm also like, is the plot really giving that much? We're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see what turns it takes, but it's not super thrillery. There is obviously this sort of mystery about what happened to the boy exactly, but I also feel like the author is giving us a lot of hints from the very beginning of what it could be, and I don't really know how surprising the reveal is gonna be. If it's something like The Push, where it does take a really dark, interesting turn, I'll like that. But right now I am feeling like it's gonna just be like a 4-star kind of moment, and it's not super thrillery. It is probably just more like dark drama kind of thing. That's the thoughts for now. My next check-in when I finish it, I assume will be when I'm in the UK, so I guess I'll show you a little bit of that, or we'll just see where I'm at when I finish it. I don't know.
So high, I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through.
Hey, I'm in our London hotel room. Ignore my lip. A lot's happening there. I did actually finish The Whispers when we were on the plane coming here because we had like a 3-hour delay and it's a pretty short book. I, however, was a little bit disappointed with it. I think what I would rate it would be like a 3.5. It's funny because I almost cursed myself with the comment I said earlier about loving her writing, but then I felt like the plot was going to disappoint a bit. That literally is what happened. Like, so read this if you want to read about motherhood, you want like neighborhood, domestic drama, but I don't necessarily think things were like super shocking. The affair that was going on, I kind of figured out like who was cheating, and the very kind of ending line wasn't that great, like ending twist. In The Push, it was a lot more interesting, darker. It was kind of the first time she had done that, so it was more impactful, I guess. But in this one, it just didn't hit as hard. So I actually was a little disappointed and would probably give it 3.5 stars. I'm not going to read the rest of the thrillers for this vlog until I'm home from my travels, but I will check in once I have read the next book. Alright guys, here for an update because I'm pretty much about halfway through 0 Days by Ruth Ware. There is laundry behind me. Oops, I don't see any underwear though, so I think we're good. So I am enjoying this. Typical Ruth Ware. I feel like it's going to be a very quick, easy read, so I always love that. As for the premise, we are following our main character, Jack. Her full name is just Jacinta. but she goes by Jack. She's married to her husband, Gabe, and they have this cool little setup. They have this business that they run together where basically they break into companies to test their security systems. So the companies hire them to break into their offices and sort of test how good their security is, and they'll do like a report on it after. And Jack is the one that's in charge of breaking in physically to the offices, and then Gabe is the one that does like the online hacking to see how good their cybersecurity system is. So we see in the first bit of the book, we see them on this one job, and then Jack gets held up with some things on her way home. She gets home late, and when she gets home, she sees that her husband Gabe has had his throat slit. He has been murdered. Very tragic. She goes into shock. When she eventually calls the police, you know, they come and get her, the whole thing, but she becomes the prime suspect in this due to some timing things. Like, she took a long time to call the police because she went into shock, so that's a little suspicious. There's some other things, and it kind of seems like she's being set up, and she realizes this, and she's like, I need to basically run away. Like, she makes the decision to go on the run because she can tell that like someone is trying to frame her. She doesn't want to get arrested, so before she gets arrested, she runs away. So far, the rest of the book, she has been on the run, and she's trying to figure out who really killed her husband. Kind of a classic story, definitely a type of setup that we've seen before of a spouse, you know, that's been killed, and then their spouse trying to figure out who did it, but they're the suspect. Like, we see this a lot. But, you know, of course, I'm still invested and curious of where it's gonna go. I'll say initially, like, as soon as I met two different characters, I suspected them. It was just like a vibe. So there are two people on my suspect list. There's not that many characters anyways, so like I'm suspecting like half the characters, I guess. But yeah, it's just kind of like a typical fun time. I'm thinking it will just be like a very typical enjoyable thriller, but with Ruth Ware, I think normally her twists aren't that crazy, so I'm curious to see if I will be right about those people. Oh, and it also takes place in London, because yeah, Ruth Ware is a British author. It's taking place in London, where I just was, I guess 2 weeks ago now. So it's kind of fun because, you know, I can remember like being on the tube and like the lines, the certain like train lines that she mentions, and the areas, and being by the river. So it's kind of fun reading this after going there. Hey guys, so thought I'd do a little book haul. I went out for a walk, went to my local Indigo, and picked up a couple books. So I am hauling Lisa Jewell's None of This Is True. This is her newest thriller. Lisa Jewell's one of my favorite authors, so obviously I had to get this, and I feel like I've been hearing some pretty good things about it so far. It seems to be a podcast thing, so that trope is kind of getting out of style, but I don't think I've read any Lisa Jewell book with the podcast trope, so I will be interested to see what she does with it. And it seems to be about these two women who meet, and it goes from there. Then I wanted to get The Legacies by Jessica Goodman. So she is a YA thriller author. I've read her 3 previous books before, and I think the first one was like a 3-star, but I think the other 2 have like slowly been getting better. So with her newest one, I'm excited to see if it's even better than the other 3. And let's see. So it seems like the plot is a little similar to some of her other books, as we're dealing with kind of like a elusive or elite school club and these seniors who are part of it, and there's this legacy ball that's happening, so this big event that our characters are going to, and then secrets come out, someone maybe dies. It's set in New York's elite social circles where smiles hold secrets and the truth is always shifting. No one is safe from murder. And then the last one I saw and picked up was E. Lockhart's Family of Liars. So I read We Were Liars a couple years ago, loved it. I've just been waiting for the paperback to come out because I have the paperback of the first one. So I didn't realize it was out. I saw it and just sort of bought it on a whim. So now I can finally read this prequel to We Were Liars. So that's my little book haul. Now I'm gonna film a video, as you can tell from this setup. All right, we're done. I finished it, and so I feel like the first update was really just talking about the premise. So now let's talk about the execution. Okay, unfortunately, so I've read all of Ruth Ware's books, right? I don't think they've ever been 5 stars for me, but I've always, you know, enjoyed them. This, I think, is my least favorite. I think it might be the worst one. So I feel really bad saying that. but I think I might rate it 3 stars, which is not a bad rating, but it still is a disappointing rating. I feel like if the book is not boring and it's not offensive and just bad, then it's a 3 or higher. Like, I think it has to be boring or offensive or something to be lower than that. This is, you know, still easy to read, easy to get through. I always like that, but very predictable. Like, I had nagged who the guilty party was from the start. We had some reveals throughout that were very obvious, I thought. A lot of it is really just our main character Jack trying to escape from the police. I thought there'd be a little bit more focus on the unraveling the mystery of who Gabe's killer was, and, you know, seeing Jack go here, find something new here, and, you know, unravel this whole mystery. But instead it was mostly just about her running from the police, who kept catching up to her. Minor spoiler, but she gets injured early on, so she's, you know, dealing with this injury while on the run, which is always kind of annoying, right, when the character is like hurt. And just not a lot was really happening. It just was, at the end of the day, a letdown plot wise. So, you know, didn't hate it, but definitely not a fave. Very kind of mediocre. And I'm having quite a bit of that lately, like literally now twice in this video. Hopefully our last book is not a disappointment, the YA thriller. Hopefully it comes through, but I'm just like, why are these thrillers not hitting for me lately? Even last month I read a Lisa Jewell, I read a Sherry Lapina, 2 of my favorite thriller authors, and even those ones disappointed me. So I'm like, am I just reading these same authors too often? Because, you know, I read all of Ruth's books, all of Lisa Jewell, all of Sherry Lapina, like all of Riley Sager. Maybe I need to like pick up a new thriller author. Like, maybe I need to check out like a Peter Swanson, because I've never read from him, or like Taylor Adams, whatever their name is, or Megan Miranda, ones I've never read or something, because I don't know. So yeah, I think if you're gonna read Ruth Ware, read Turn of the Key. That's definitely been the standout, and probably just skip this one. It's a bit different for her, so I guess that's nice that she kind of tried to branch out, but I don't know. Did you see that lightning? It's storming. Okay, well, that's it for this book. Yeah, hopefully one of us is back. Ooh. Hopefully one of us is back. Will be higher than a 3.
Times don't fly too high. Be sure to keep the ground in sight. Fly forever if you keep it tight.
Hello, here for another update for One of Us is Back, which I am about halfway through now. So this is the 3rd book in the One of Us is Lying trilogy. In the very first book, we were following the Bayview 4, who were all being blackmailed about some secret that they had. This starts up after they are all in detention together, and the 5th person that was in detention with them, Simon, ended up getting murdered. And it seems like, you know, it could have been one of them that did the crime because he was blackmailing them. Anyways, in the 2nd book, we have a kind of copycat who's trying to do the same thing as Simon, of like revealing people's secrets and stuff, and kind of like blackmailing people again. And we are following different main characters, and some of them were like related to the original Bayview 4. So in this book, we actually have all of these characters involved now from the previous 2 books. And that's what I was a little bit worried about, because there's just so many characters, and I read those books so long ago. Luckily, they did put this little character thing at the start. It's framed like contacts in a phone, but it kind of lists all of our main characters from the previous 2 books. Not all of these characters have point of views. She kind of just picked, I think it's about 3 or 4 characters. I think it's 3. I think that's why there's 3 here. And we're just getting points of view from them. But they're not necessarily my favorite ones that she chose. So I'm a little bit sad about that. Like, I really like Addie, who we're following, but then we're also following Nate and Phoebe, and like, I don't know, I maybe would have rather they follow someone else. So what's going on here is they're all kind of reeling from things that happened in the previous 2 books. Like, someone that got charged for doing stuff in one of the previous books is seeming like he might get let off, he might not go to jail, and so he's kind of hanging around. And then we also had this like mysterious sign go up in town that says like ready for another game or something, some referral to a game that they're like, okay, that's kind of weird. We had one of our main characters get roofied, and then she was like kidnapped for the night, and then when they found her, she had like a mysterious message written on her arm. There's like some different ominous things like that going on, but there's no real clear game that we know of yet. It's just kind of these lingering creepy things, and all of our main characters are just kind of on edge now. But despite Karen doing a pretty good job of summarizing the first 2 books in this to kind of remind us what happened, and that character map I showed you, I'm still finding it a little bit overwhelming with all of the characters. I still just feel like it's so many that I almost think she should have had more of the characters be like out of town or something, or I should have just reread the other 2 books before so I could be reminded. So that would maybe be my recommendation. Now that all 3 books are out, if you're going to read them, maybe read them back to back, because it's a lot of different characters and like motivations to keep track of. So yeah, I'm just kind of having a good time with it. I really don't have any major theories because I don't feel like that much has happened yet. But yeah, I'm not hating it. I'm not obsessed with it. It is still pretty quick, easy, and fun to read. So I think it's really going to boil down to the second half of the book when we really see the plot ramp up and what sort of twists are going on. Hopefully there's still connections to, you know, the first book and everything. I always like that in a series, but yeah, that's just kind of what I'm thinking so far. Tonight, I am going to JoBros Concert, so I'm excited about that. And then Sunday, we're actually going to a Family Feud taping, Family Feud Canada, which I don't think I can film at all during that. No phones allowed in the studio, but that's the plans for the rest of my weekend. But hopefully I can still finish this before Tuesday when I plan for this video to go up. Okay, back with the final update for the vlog, as I have finished One of Us is Back. But first, maybe a little life update, as you know, I had an exciting weekend. As you saw, I went to the JoBros concert in Toronto. It was so good. It was so fun. I love seeing those guys. They're just so good, and they even sung a song from Camp Rock as a little shout out for Toronto and Canada because they filmed it here. So that was very fun. There were also some emotional parts in the show as well, like Nick singing a little bit longer, which I'm sure you know, Nick has type 2 diabetes and wrote that song about it when he was younger and first diagnosed. And I've known that song for years. Like, I've been a fan of them since I was a kid. I've heard that song, and this was my first time hearing him sing it since I've been diagnosed with diabetes, the same type as Nick. And as soon as he started singing it, I was like, oh shit, like, I'm getting emotional right now. Like, I've never heard this since being diagnosed 2 years ago. And even though I've known the song for so long, it just really hit me hard this time. Obviously, I could really relate now to the lyrics and everything about the song. So that was also a thing that happened. Tonight, the biggest thing that's been on my mind, sorry, I'm just like doing a whole life update rant, but I finished The Summer I Turned Pretty season 2. I watched the finale tonight, and I've just been so into this show. I feel like this season, I haven't enjoyed season 2 as much as season 1, I think, but it ended with me just feeling so many emotions, and I just have like very strong opinions about the whole Team Conrad, Team Jeremiah thing. I'm sure you're aware of that if you know the show. Basically, I did read the books, and I was Team Jeremiah in the books, and I'm still Team Jeremiah in the show, very strongly, in fact. I just can't believe there's actually people who are Team Conrad. I really, really can't. Like, I honestly don't even really care to offend people. Like, I really just don't understand people that are Team Conrad. And I'm getting like the same feelings that I got during the Vampire Diaries when that was airing when I was a teenager. I was very strongly Team Delena, Team Damon. You know, hated the other side, and I'm feeling such similar vibes with this love triangle. And I think the dynamics of the love triangles are also so similar. And what drives me nuts is that there's so many TikToks I see that are saying Conrad girlies are Damon girlies, and that Stefan girlies are now Jeremiah girlies. And I'm flabbergasted by this statement because it's so the opposite. It's so the opposite. If you like Conrad, I feel like you would have liked Stefan in the Vampire Diaries. And I think if you like Jeremiah, it's more similar to Damon. I can't believe there's some people saying that. It's so similar. Like, first of all, Jeremiah and Belly, they're friends. Jeremiah is like fun and funny and brings out the best in her. And the actors have a really good chemistry. Lola and Gavin, who play Belly and Jeremiah. Who does that sound like? Damon and Elena, Nina and Ian. Conrad is so dull. He's so boring to watch. Him and Belly do not have chemistry, or not as good chemistry, and he's just like so selfish. It's just like so Stefan and Damon. The dynamic between Conrad and Jeremiah is just so Stefan and Damon. It's just crazy, and I just have very like intense like feelings about it. If you want to hit me up, if you want to talk about this more, let me know in the comments or on Instagram. I'm uploading this video tomorrow, so it's still gonna be fresh for me. But yeah, I just felt really strong feelings about like season 2 and the ending. I won't get into spoilers about what happened, but anyways, that's just a little rant. Okay, what I really need to talk about is the actual book, why we're actually here. One of Us is back. So I just finished this. Overall, I think it's a good little nice wrap up to this series, and I'm gonna rate it a 4-star. So that means it's the highest rated book in this vlog. Was not expecting that, to be honest, for a YA thriller to beat out 2 adult thrillers. But yeah, it was definitely the least disappointing. It was really just what you would want and what you would expect from this book. It's YA, so I feel like the expectations are down a little bit, and it was just a fun time. You know, I feel like the plot delivered as well as it could. There was some little twists, but also stuff that I kind of guessed, kind of had a feeling about. So I also felt kind of like satisfied by that I kind of guessed who our villain was. And I also really just like the presence of Simon, who, if you remember, he was from the first book and he was the catalyst to everything. And so I do like that there were those connections and callbacks to him. And yeah, we just felt his presence here. So that's honestly the main thing I would want from a series like this, is those connections. And as much as I found a lot of the characters, like having so many of them, to be overwhelming, I do think we had some cute moments between some of them, some nice friendship moments, some funny moments here and there. Especially Addie and Nate's relationship really stood out for me in this, like their friendship. Addie and Nate both did have points of view. I feel like I would have liked if even more characters had points of view, but I see why that would have made it too confusing. So yeah, overall, I like this book. So I think if you enjoyed the first one, I would say read the second and third one. I think it'll be pretty enjoyable. Nothing too crazy or amazing. It's not like a Inheritance Games or Good Girls Guide to Murder in terms of YA thrillers. It's not at that level for me, but it was still enjoyable enough, and that's why it's getting 4 stars. And that's going to wrap up this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end here, be sure to like and subscribe, and also leave me a comment, whether it's about any of these books or about these things that I just talked about now, like The Summer I Turned Pretty. And yeah, follow me on Goodreads and my other social media to keep up with me. Hope you have a great rest of your day whenever you're watching this. See you next time. Bye.